Going on
Bye.
to Zoom. Bye-bye. Susan Michelle, this mic is all yours. You are muted.
Yep. Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. I have my good friend and soul sister here with me, Myrna Skoller. She is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, which is a great companion to the Course in Miracles workbook for students. How are you today, Myrna?
I thank you, Susan. Yes, private lessons with Jesus is a great lesson for me. I mean, a great companion to the Course in Miracles for me. That's why I originally decided to continue with it. It was really doing a lot for me personally. So, thank you.
Yeah, we are all students and teachers of A Course in Miracles, and basically we learn what we teach. So, yeah, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful book. Uh, and I will start with the introduction of my book, Surrender to Joy, as I usually do. What I write is I write, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. And I started the day with today's workbook lesson, which is lesson 104. And lesson 104 states, I seek but what belongs to me in truth. So here in the italicized paragraph, it mentions the word joy, just like my book, Surrender to Joy. What Jesus writes after the third paragraph is, I seek but what belongs to me in truth, and joy and peace are my inheritance. So I listened to this lesson a couple times this morning on YouTube. I read the lesson and I meditated on the lesson. And as all Course in Miracles lessons are, it's a very powerful lesson. And I believe that if you get to the crux, the core of any one lesson, you really seek that, you really attain that state of Christ consciousness, which is so beautiful. Again, in italicized, it says, I seek but what belongs to me in truth. God's gift of joy and peace are all I want. Um, you know, in the introduction of my book, I state there is nothing to find in the world, and that is what this lesson is stating as well. We think the world teaches us that there is something out there that can complete us. There is something in the world that will make us whole. The world teaches us that we are not enough, but if we accomplish this goal, we are going to be happy. And A Course in Miracles is telling us throughout the text that there is nothing in the world that can complete us. What we are searching for is this joy, this peace that exists within us. So that's why it's very helpful to be still, throughout the day. It's very helpful to start the day off with a meditation. It's very helpful to start the day off with a Course in Miracles lesson. And when we can really feel that peace, love, joy, and happiness that exists within us, we go into the world not to get anything, but to share God's love with our brother, to be a conduit for God's divine miracles. That's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. And that is the only way that we can experience true joy, to go into the world and start grasping for things. It's not going to satisfy us. I mean, there might be a fleeting moment of satisfaction when we get what we think we want, but then that moment is going to dissipate, and we're going to go back into a state of wanting. A Course in Miracles is telling us that God gave us all everything when we were born. So what we need to do is we need to remember, we need to recognize the truth that is within us. Thoughts, Myrna?
Yes, by recognizing what is mine in truth, as the title of the lesson. I seek only what is mine in truth. So I wonder, what exactly is it? What is mine? What really is mine and what isn't mine? And in contemplating reading the lesson, it encourages us. I really think it really encourages us to focus on the eternal gifts that truly belong to us, eternal gifts, such as peace, joy, love. Those are considered eternal gifts. And it isn't about personal possessions or achievements. We think it is. We're raised to think it is. We live in a world that professes that's really all that is important. And so we strive for things that really don't bring us happiness. And I think that this teaching, it's in itself, um, teaches that, or suggests that that when we understand what is truly ours, we open ourselves up to the gifts, to those gifts of God, and experience a deeper sense of contentment and fulfillment. And the reason that we do is because that's all that's real. That's all that's lasting. Personal possessions, things just dry up and wither away. Nothing lasts, nothing tangible lasts. And so what do we look for? We look for the gifts of God because we find that we're not going to find true happiness in what we're seeking, what the world teaches us to look for. So I think that I learned I private lessons with Jesus, my connection with Jesus. When I look to Him consistently, I really do find fulfillment in what I'm getting from all of this. What am I gaining? I'm gaining happiness when I know that I am living my purpose, trying the best I can. I think the more I do it, the better I get at it. It didn't start from day one. Trust me, I went through a lot of pain and suffering along the way, but I finally began to recognize the joy and peace and love that is my genuine inheritance, and that worldly things, worldly possessions, or even accomplishments are really ultimately unimportant when we're looking for our spiritual truth. And that by focusing on this, on what's mine, I think it naturally lets go of the attachment to what we think we want. I no longer am in that place. I no longer consider myself the same person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. I see the difference. I see the truth in my own happiness, inner happiness, that begins to show me that I'm on the right path, and I want to stay on that path. Thoughts, Susan?
Yeah, yeah, very well said. I went into ChatGPT with the points that we are discussing now. And ChatGPT, I really do like ChatGPT. I think it's very insightful the way it basically picks up information that is out there from the world and it reflects it back to us. And ChatGPT says ACIM points to a profound shift. What we think we need from the outside world is actually already present within our mind. I mean, think of that one point. I mean, when even in terms of creating what we want in the world, whenever I go after some kind of external goal from a place of lack or from a place of neediness or from a place of desperation, basically what that is, it's low level energy. It's egoic thinking. And when I go after anything in the world from a place of lack, what I actually do is I push it away from me. It's because the world is our mirror. So when we're too desperate or we're too needy, we are vibrating at a low energy density. So when we're going out into the world to try to get something, we believe that we're not worthy of that thing in the world that we want. So we actually push it away from us. When I realize that nothing in the world can really make me happy, and I focus on the abundance that I have within, then I go into the world. I no longer need something to complete me. And the goals that my soul might desire are attracted to me because I'm coming from an abundance mindset. It's in certain um spiritual teachings that is called the law of attraction. So when we come from a place of desperation, when we come from a place of lack, when we come from a place of not being good enough, and we're grabbing for things of the world, we're actually pushing those very things that we think we want away from us. But when we come from a place of abundance, when we come from a place of fullness, when we come from a place of Christ consciousness, we draw certain things into our life, but we don't need them. But however, they get reflected back to us because we're always creating our own reality. So once we realize that we have everything that we need within us and we don't need things of the world, we're much more likely to attract things that serve us into our life. As Course in Miracles says, all thoughts create form on some level. So we are always creating our own reality. And that's why it's helpful to pause. That's why it's helpful to slow down. That's why it's helpful to meditate in the morning. And Again, I guess for me, I tend to vacillate. I kind of vacillate from the Christ consciousness territory, from the Holy Spirit's mind, and then sometimes, for whatever the reason, I go back into the egoic thought system. Not 100% sure why that happens, but A Course in Miracles is teaching us mental discipline. It's teaching us that we create the world that we are focused upon. So, Course in Miracles says we are much too tolerant of mind wandering. So, A Course in Miracles is teaching us to focus on the truth. The Course in Miracles is telling us that everything, that heaven can be attained right here, right now. It's about releasing the past. It's about letting go of the future. It's about being truly present in the moment, right here, right now. And again, God is always talking to us. God is always guiding us. God is always directing us, but we cannot hear him when we are in the ego's territory. So that's why it's so important to still our mind, to breathe, to pause so we can hear God's guidance. Thoughts, Myrna?
Yes, you just stated that so beautifully. It's so true. It really is. Everything you said is so much a learning. uh, you we're available to such wonderful learning through A Course in Miracles, because it's all truth. I mean, everything that it teaches is just something that we know that we have to learn, because if we don't learn it, we're not going to experience the truth of the truth of who we really are. And when we're coming from this place of lack, like you said, it comes from the go thought system. It's a state of mind where we just perceive ourselves so deprived, incomplete. The ego wants more. It's never good enough. We're always competing. If we stay within the ego thought system, well, that's where we are, and think that, and we're seeking to strive to find happiness, which it doesn't bring us. So, and this perspective also comes from the belief in separation, and the idea that something so essential is missing from our life. What is missing, and so we want to get away from feelings of lack, which really are illusions anyway, because they're not real. Anything of the ego is not real. Course in Miracles certainly has taught me that very, very well, because I began to learn the difference between the spiritual mind and the ego mind. And when my ego mind starts to play tricks on me and starts to fill my head with something that doesn't belong there, I understand what's happening, and I'm able to discard it so much more easily, because it's almost as if it's like almost like a pesky little, I don't know, something that's bothering me, a bug or something, and I just want to kind of get back into my true state of mind, which is abundance. You mentioned abundance, and abundance is not defined by possessions or circumstances. It refers to limitless, limitless peace, limitless love, limitless joy. And that is our true nature. And that's true abundance when we start to appreciate that, recognizing that that's what we have. And that's really what we're given. If we seek it, we can, we believe me, God is very happy to give it to us, because it's our inheritance. As the Course states, it is our true inheritance, and we're entitled to to our inheritances. So, we shift, our focus from looking for fulfillment outside of ourselves. And, and when we can do that, then we shift to the wholeness that really exists within us. So, by letting go of beliefs of scarcity, separation, we realize that abundance is really our natural state, and it's always available when we align ourselves with that and we become determined to seek the truth, align ourselves with it. And you mentioned one last thing, Christ consciousness. What is Christ consciousness? The consciousness refers to a state of mind that recognizes all of this unconditional love, forgiveness. Well, forgiveness is really the foundation of our true nature. And everyone has access to this awareness by letting go of the illusions of the ego and embracing the divine presence within. Right, Susan?
Right, Myrna. That's absolutely right. Christ consciousness. Um, we all have Christ within us. We are all part of Christ consciousness. So Jesus is teaching us to be like him. I have this quote that I love to remember about Jesus. Jesus himself never claimed that he was the only one who was divine. What I have done, you can do also, and more. Go thou and do likewise. These are not claims of spiritual exclusivity. What was being demonstrated were manifestations of the divine within each of us, miracles we all could perform, though not without uh, discipline. I think I like that word. With discipline. With discipline, we can do what Jesus did. We all have Christ within us. Myrna the Christ, Lynn the Christ, Dove the Christ, Susan the Christ, and that is also the only way we can be happy. Um, is by being a conduit for God's divine miracles, by doing what Jesus did. I said in our last talk that I had this little test, or this little trigger, where some women that I worked with were gossiping about me in a very negative way. And it really hurt my feelings. However, what I have been working on since then is releasing the trigger, releasing the negative emotion that got triggered in me. I guess I see it as a lesson as well, because everything that happens to us in life, as you always say, Myrna, is a lesson or a blessing. So this was definitely a lesson. And forgive. It's just so important to forgive anything that happens in the external world in order to align ourselves with the mind of Christ. Because when we hang on to forgiveness or animosity, unforgiveness, when we hang on to unforgiveness and animosity of any kind, we're in ego territory. We're in a fear-based mindset. So I'm not forgiving for their sake, although they might benefit because we're all part of the sonship. So I think we pick up energy from each other. But really, in my mind, when I forgive, I'm doing it for my own sake. Because in order for me to step into the truth of who I am, forgiveness is essential. Forgiveness is the theme of A Course in Miracles. Basically, it's taking us out of the egoic thought system and into heaven, which is a mindset based on pure love. God does not need to forgive us because God has never condemned us. But since we have a tendency to condemn each other, since we have a tendency to judge each other, we have a tendency to condemn ourselves and judge ourselves. It's the same thing when we judge someone else or we judge ourselves. Same thing. We're in the ego territory, and we don't allow ourselves to experience the peace, love, joy, and happiness that we crave when we go into ego territory. But when we can forgive, then we can step back into the truth of who we are. And this is how we step back into that place of peace that is our true inheritance. I went into ChatGPT. What we were speaking about before was the law of attraction. And I asked ChatGPT, how does the law of attraction align with ACIM? And what I got back is where they align. A Course in Miracles and the law of attraction. Your experience is shaped by your mind, not the external world. What you focus on, believe, and hold in awareness matters. Inner change leads to outer experience shifting. So in both, you're not a victim of life, you are participating through your thinking. But where they differ is the law of attraction is teaching us to get what we want in the world. ACIM is teaching us to realize that we don't need those things to behold, choose peace instead. And then it says ACIM isn't about manifesting, it's about awakening. So to use the law of attraction to focus your mind on what you want in the world, it does work because all thought creates form on some level. But the only problem with that, no matter what we attain in the world, it's not providing us with what our soul really craves, which is inner peace. So with the following the guidance of A Course in Miracles, we're focusing upon awakening from the dream, because this world is a dream. So A Course in Miracles is teaching us to awaken from the dream and reside in that heavenly mindset right here, right now. We can live in the world, but realize that we are not of the world. We are of a better place, which is the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is not a place that we need to wait until after we die to enter. The kingdom of heaven is a place that we can attain right here, right now. And again, that is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. A Course in Miracles is teaching us to align our mind with the truth of who we are. I seek but what belongs to me in truth, lesson 104 states, because the truth is the only thing that can bring us the joy that we crave. Thoughts, Myrna?
Yes, you said before, I think the sentence was, what I have done, you can do, and you can do, and more. Yes, I'm familiar with that phrase because Jesus, in A Course in Miracles, is expressing the idea that each of us has the potential to achieve the same spiritual awakening miracles that he demonstrated. And I think it encourages us more than anything to recognize our own divine nature and the power that we have to transform, and that we're not limited by our perceived shortcomings. So, by embracing love and forgiveness, ultimately, I think we transcend the ego to something else. We transcend those ego annoyances or thoughts into something else, realizing it goes way beyond that. we recognize our true spiritual power. You spoke to about, people saying things that aren't nice. And, I think it takes a lot of strength, I think, in order to just sort of, it really does. It's so easy to react with anger and defensiveness. That's something that I probably would have done years back. Now I can see these moments really as opportunities for healing, really, and growth, maybe even, because I think it takes more strength to see that this shift in perspective, I guess our perspective about this allows us to really come to terms with the fact that really we have to our only choice is to embrace forgiveness, to choose peace. Because if we don't, then we just attack ourselves. We don't attack the other person. We're really just attacking ourselves. So I think this deepens the connection to our true self, and yeah, the power of our thoughts and our beliefs shape our experiences. And, I think if we focus on what is ours in truth, we spoke about peace and love and abundance, and it's a way of aligning ourselves. It's not a way, we do align ourselves with our true nature. And that's similar to the law of attraction, right? The principles, I guess, of the law of attraction is that we attract what we focus on. And while, we do focus on forgiveness and everything else that we spoke about, but we also now can manifest, I guess, our desires, our desires manifest by maintaining the positive thoughts, positive intentions, the law of attraction. Isn't that right? I think I got it. It approaches the highlight, the importance of our inner transformation by choosing love over fear. Am I right about that? You mentioned the law of attraction. Is that true? The way, in other words, it's just a matter of centering on manifesting our own desires. By just focusing on positive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've used the law of attraction to create things in the world, and the law of attraction does work. You know, Joe Dispenza is a wonderful teacher who his expertise is the law of attraction. And I mean, it definitely works. It definitely works. I'm not against the law of attraction, but I think as a Course in Miracles student, it's important for me to remember that even when I get what I think I want in the external world, it's not enough to make me happy. That's why I guess for the past few years in my morning meditations, I'm not so focused on worldly desires anymore. I focus on inner peace and try to listen to God's guidance. Because I realize that nothing in the world can actually make me happy. Projection makes perception. Of Course in Miracles says over and over. So we are creating our own experience. We speak frequently about the fact that this life is a dream, and you think of what happens in the night when you go into the dream world. Your unconscious mind is creating the reality you experience, but it's not real. Um, so yeah, I mean, for me in my morning meditations, I'm more focused now on just attaining a peaceful place in my mind where I can hear God's guidance as opposed to creating what I think would make me happy. It's just what seems to make sense in my life right here, right now. You also spoke about, and I love the way you phrased this, Myrna. You spoke about transcending the ego, and I think that's a very wise statement because we don't want to fight against the ego, because when we do that, we give the ego power. I mean, what's the difference between the traditional Christian devil and the Course in Miracles ego? The difference is the traditional Christian thought system teaches that the devil is real and we have to be wary of him. We have to watch out for him. You know, we have to, in a way, a lot of traditional Christians are scared of the devil, right? A Course in Miracles teaches that the ego is illusory. The ego doesn't exist. So we don't want to fight the ego, because if we fight the ego, we actually give power to an illusion. And that's not going to benefit us at all. Really, the way to get away from the ego is to focus upon the truth, is to focus upon love, light, peace, joy. We don't want to fight against something that is not real. We just, A Course in Miracles is teaching us to focus on the truth. And when we focus on the truth, we remember who we truly are. There is nothing to be scared of. There is nothing to fear. A Course in Miracles acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. There is no reason to be scared when we are in our right mind. Um, and you also brought up uh, the trigger that occurred in my life, a few weeks ago when some women, um, some women spoke poorly of me. That's an opportunity for healing. That's what triggers are. Triggers are opportunities for healing. So just realize that this world is a classroom, and we are always undergoing certain tests. And I think the tests are there to teach us. So it's very important to not take this world personally. I remember this one spiritual analogy where there was this spiritual guru that paid someone to follow him around and say bad things about him, just say nasty things about him and put him down. And this was gonna teach this spiritual guru not to take anything outside of himself personally. I don't know if that's true or not, but the spiritual guru, the spiritual teacher, was teaching himself to not allow the world to disturb him. That's also one of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, to not take anything personally. And I mean, one of the greatest teachers of that was Jesus himself. When he got nailed to the cross, he said, "God, forgive them. They know not what they do." So he was teaching us not to take other people's projections of fear personally. And it is it's difficult sometimes, because the world is run on the egoic thought system. But the truth is so simple, because the only thing that will ever make us happy is coming from a place of love and compassion. So when challenges arise in our life, as you said, it's basically it's definitely best not to react from a place of fear, not to react from the egoic thought system, but to pause, connect, align our mind with the mind of God and respond from a place of compassion and love. That's the only way of thinking that will ever bring peace to our mind. Right, Myrna?
Yes, you spoke about Jesus, and I wondered, did Jesus ever be fearful? Was he ever fearful? But he couldn't have been if he recognized that he chose love over fear. When you choose love, like the Course in Miracles says, if you choose love over fear, then we maintain the inner peace, even under the most challenging circumstances. I kind of look at that and say that tells me a lot. Um, and yeah, and I want to just get back to to my I just finished writing a book, and I want to get it published. And it's funny, we talked about the law of attraction, and I am trying to use the law of attraction to find the right publisher for my book. See, the other books that I've written were all self-published, which is fine. I enjoyed I enjoyed the work, doing the work, and seeing it on Amazon and knowing that the book is there. But this book, the latest one, I really have my focus on that one. It's a murder mystery, actually, and it was derived from true events, but I fictionalized it. And I just think that this is like a wonderful book, and it really should be published. So I'm trying to focus my thoughts on feeling, the book being published, focusing on the success of it. I don't look at any doubts or fears at all about it, and I'm also definitely not attached to the outcome. I mean, all these wonderful things would be wonderful if it came to fruition. And, I'm getting a lot of personal fulfillment out of using that, that attraction, the power of attraction, I guess you might say, because you're right, it does manifest worldly things. And we state our intentions. And believe me, Jesus is not against us feeling, wanting to feel successful or wanting to maintain a positive mindset. And we're encouraged really to stay aligned with our intention, our intentions for what we want. And through my own experience in the world, opportunities will come our way. They will. We just have to remember how to manifest it, how to make it become, how to manifest our goals, and and success and fulfillment and creative expression is all wonderful things to align ourselves with, as long as we don't believe that's the only thing that's going to make us happy, as long as we don't stick to the idea that nothing else is important, and that overcome that sort of becomes the focus, that this is something that I'm going to have to achieve or I'm going to be unhappy. I'm not feeling that way at all. I'm really not. But I just, trying to focus on the positive. I guess that's what I'm saying, you know. So yeah. Thoughts, Susan?
Yeah, well, that's exciting. That's exciting. Um, Getting a publisher for your book. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you are feeling is right for your book, I fully support you getting a publisher, and I believe you will. That's wonderful. I mean, I know you're an amazing writer. Really amazing. My husband too. He's read a couple of your books and he just loves them. So that's an exciting venture. And what the Bible says in one passage, which I've always believed strongly, is whatever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive, because we are always creating our own reality. So when we pray for a certain result, if we believe that we are going to create a circumstance in our life, we will. I strongly believe that. I mean, I believe in the law of attraction, just like you said. I believe that, we are here to learn. We are here to play. We are created in the image of God. So God has created us, and we yearn to create as well in this earthly classroom. It's also important to remember, as of course, remember for yourself, that thing in the world that we are creating for ourselves cannot bring us happiness. So there's nothing wrong with desire. There's nothing wrong with creating, but then to realize the only thing that we need for the peace, love, joy, and happiness that our soul craves is to connect to our creator. So I think the two can work hand in hand, the law of attraction, and A Course in Miracles. So I'll read the first paragraph of lesson 104 because I have lesson 104 open in front of me. And what Jesus writes here is today's idea continues with the thought that joy and peace are not but idle dreams. They are your right because of what you are. They come to you from God, who cannot fail to give you what he wills. Yet must there be a place made ready to receive his gifts. They are not welcomed gladly by a mind that has instead received the gifts it made, where his belong, as substitutes for them. So God wills to give everything to all of us. So it is up to us to open our hearts to accept his gifts. God is always extending his love to us, and we yearn to be a conduit for his divine love and extend his miracles to our brothers, to our sisters, to the world. It's important to remember that there's nothing that can substitute for God. We don't want to use our worldly desires to complete us, because the only thing that can actually complete us is being a conduit for God's divine love, connecting to God. So there's nothing wrong with creating in the world, but we always need to remember is what is the only thing that can sustain us is aligning our mind with the mind of God. That's what our soul craves, and nothing of the world can take its place. Right, Myrna?
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love this lesson, and I'm going on and reading. I'd like to read a little bit of paragraph 2 in the same lesson. Continue with that. Today, we would remove all meaningless and self-made gifts which have placed upon the holy altar where God's gifts belong. His are the gifts that are our own in truth. His are the gifts that we inherited. Now, this is the part I like. His are the gifts that we inherited before time was, and that will still be ours when time has past into eternity. I mean, that in itself, the sentence alone gives me so much joy. Our gifts, I mean, we were always, it only tells me that, yes, it's true. I was always as God created me. I am still as God created me, and I will be as God created me into eternity. I mean, these are the gifts that we inherited before time was. Think about that. And it will still be ours when time has passed into eternity. And it just refers to these spiritual gifts bestowed on us by our Creator. Spirit, He's create. What does He bestow on us? Love and peace and joy and all those wonderful things. What could be better gifts than that? And they're not bound by physical time. It just makes me see that it's not bound by physical time or worldly circumstances, but they're eternal and unchanging, and they belong to us before the concept of time even began, and even after it ends. Think about that. Time before time began, and even after time ends. What is time? Time is not of heaven. It's an earthly, uh, you know, time is something that we have to live by on earth. And we live by the clock, and it really is meaningless when we think about eternity and think about how this passage alone just emphasizes that our true inheritance reminds us that what is ours in truth can't be lost, it can't be diminished, and it has nothing to do with anything temporary, which is what we are on this earth. Everything here is temporal. So it does give me a great deal of encouragement. I mean, it makes me see that I would never want to be anywhere other than where I am right now. It's funny. I'm 84 years old, and somebody asked me, "What age would you like to be if you could be any age?" And I thought about that, and I said, you know what? I want to be the age I am right now. I just love that I felt that way, that I wouldn't want to be any other age. I want to be the age that I am right now, because so much has been learned through the years by me. It has been so much of my past has shaped my experiences here on earth. And, you know, and that's really what I look at. So I really wouldn't want to give that up. I like the place that I'm in. I like the fact that I feel that I will be guided for the rest of my life. I rest in that idea and that approach, and it just highlights the importance of my inner transformation so much by choosing love over fear. Anyway, yes, our mindset can truly profound and influence the reality that we create. Right, Susan?
I love that, Myrna. I love that. I mean, what age would you want to be? The age that I am now. I just think that's such a brilliant answer, because the only thing that can ever make us happy is accepting our life exactly as it is. I mean, that's the only thing that can ever bring peace, love, joy, and happiness to our mind. So why would you want to be another age? Just to accept our life exactly as it is so empowering. That's how we align ourselves with the thoughts of God, by accepting everything exactly as it is. Yeah, there was a time when I was quitting smoking. I used to smoke cigarettes, and one tool that I used is whenever I started stressing out and craving a cigarette, I would say this mantra to myself: what if everything is just perfect right here, right now? And the cravings for cigarettes would dissipate. They would go away, because I was just being fully present in the moment, accepting my life exactly as it is. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. I mean, A Course in Miracles is giving us life tools to be happy in this lifetime. I mean, we are spiritual beings inhabiting these earthly bodies for a very short period of time to learn life's deeper lessons. And I think that the lessons that we are all learning is how to love unconditionally. That's what we're learning, and when I got out of this morning's meditation, it was a very powerful meditation, while I was running on the reservoir. It was a very warm day this morning in Massachusetts. It's actually this morning I was running, it was about 65 degrees. Now it's up to 80 degrees, and the run was very enjoyable, and I was really ruminating on my life being perfect exactly as it is. I was ruminating on the fact that I am completely innocence. Another affirmation that I love is I embody the essence of innocence. I think those are ways to connect to God. Those are ways to connect to Christ consciousness. I mean, accepting everything in our life exactly as it is. When we can do that, our energetic frequency elevates itself and we get closer to Christ consciousness. We get closer to God by embracing our own innocence. This is another way we can elevate our energetic consciousness and get closer to God. These are very powerful mental tools, and yeah, just accepting everything in our life exactly as it is so empowering, just so very empowering. So, and I love the paragraph that you read here in lesson 104. And as I state frequently, any one lesson, when you really get to the core of it will bring us to the enlightened state that we all crave. I underlined a couple of sentences in paragraph number 4 and paragraph number 5 that are very powerful. The first line in the 5th paragraph of lesson 104 states, "So do we clear the way for him with a capital H today by simply recognizing that his will is done already and that joy and peace belong to us as his eternal gifts." So we don't have to find anything. We just have to recognize that the joy and peace that we crave so deeply are within us. And that is just such a beautiful way to live, right, Myrna?
It sure is, Susan. I love sharing this with you. I mean, it just puts me in a state of total grace. It really does, and I'm so glad that we managed to kind of walk along the same path really all these years. And even if we walked along different paths, we ended up on the same path. So yeah, because we go back a very, very long time. We go back like 35 years. And what brought us together? The Course in Miracles. Think about that. So that's to me is a wonderful thing to be proud of, really. You know, yeah, you
For
know,
sure.
yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, years ago in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Yeah, we met at the Course in Miracles group, and that was beautiful. And I'm still grateful for our divine friendship, and I love our time here and gather together. So it is just about 2:30, and I will end with the introduction of A Course in Miracles, which states nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Thank you for being here with me today. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Susan and Myrna. Wow, what a powerful session. Oh my goodness. I so appreciate you both. So thank you. And the treatment of the lesson is just so powerful. So